In today's show, we have a very interesting personality talking to us, Dr. Vasudev Pasupuleti.
Devakinanda.
Yeah, okay. Yeah,
Devakinanda.
Dr. Devakinanda Pasupuleti. Yeah, he is a board certified neurologist practicing in Flint, Michigan. And at the same time, he writes extensively on spirituality and religion. Also, his background in psychology and psychiatry, coupled with neurology, makes him uniquely qualified to delve upon certain issues related to spirituality, religion, and modern science, and of course, medical science. It's a pleasure to have you, Dr. Pasupuleti.
Thank you. It's mine too.
Yeah. So let me understand first, in brief, can you please introduce to the audience about your background? Where do you come from? How you got into this spirituality, being a practitioner of modern medical science?
I am from in the south part of India, southern India,
Mhm.
and I came to United States in 1980. For the last 42 years, I'm here. And before that, I finished my medical school, and then I did some philanthropy work, like serving tsunami victims in my region as a
Mhm.
Red Cross medical officer for 3 years, and then I came here. And the religion is part of my life because my mom, my dad, my brothers, everybody is religious, and I'm the youngest one, so I got from everybody little bit of from every one of them, especially my mother. She was my basically the um, she's the one actually used to take me to temples and all that stuff. That's the religious part.
Sure.
Medical science, since I was like you, we all studied biology science to get into medical school, and we did the human body. And then I came here, then I did first psychiatry,
Mhm.
and then from psychiatry, when I saw the patients with schizophrenia, bipolar, anxiety, depression, I thought there is more of situational and also not able to handle the stress
Mhm.
like we do back home, because we are 1.34 billion people. Very rarely anybody goes to a psychologist or a psychiatrist.
Mhm.
So with that experience, I thought I should learn more about the biology of all these diseases. Why should they have the schizophrenia and the bipolar? So I entered the neurology residency in
Mhm.
University of Buffalo, and I finished physiology. Then I did 1 year fellowship in Medical College of Wisconsin in neuromuscular diseases.
Okay.
And then I started, studying more and more scriptures and tying that to medicine. And then I observed my own instead of just bookish. If you observe the patient, you probably help the patient more than just ordering bunch of tests. That's how I started my journey in both spirituality as well as writing articles and all that stuff.
So if you look at, I know, religion being one thing, but when it comes to existence of God or some supernatural power, having studied molecular biology, genetics, and on top of that, mind and body,
Yeah,
neurology also, and of course
right,
psychiatry.
right.
How do you look at all this? Like metaphysical
I,
component of
I don't
quote
think
unquote God.
you can separate. I don't think you can separate science from religion, religion from science,
Mhm.
because purely with science alone, I don't think humans have existed for this many millennia. And also, the famous Einstein, he also quoted that religion without science is lame, and the science without religion is blind. That type of, like religion without science is lame, and science without religion is blind. So Nobel Prize winner, and he actually changed the modern life with his E is equal to mc square. which I have been studying Einstein for a long time. Even his oldest son suffered from schizophrenia. He died in a mental institution, Einstein's son. So
Mhm.
I kind of know all these things. I said even people who spent all their life in laboratory and in science and microcosm, still he himself and a lot of Oppenheimer and all those people, they realize that uh, science can give you the comforts of life. It
Sure.
doesn't give you. Every person has inside eye that is same for all of us, because when you say I am Dr. Manish and I say I am Dr. Pasupuleti, so that I is common for all of us. So that is where the spirituality comes into play. And also, as you know, I mean, I studied the astrophysics, and you can see in the background my shelf. I have like 300 plus books, and I studied every one of them, including astrophysics and you name it. I did not just study the neurology and religion. I studied all
Mhm.
these universe, cosmos, microcosm, and quantum physics, mechanics, and all that stuff.
Mhm.
So, as you know, even as a scientist, and we as clinical scientists, means we take care of patients. If you don't look at the patient as a whole, and if you treat a patient with once or just a symptom and order a bunch of tests, you are shooting in the dark. But if you look at the whole picture of the patient, the whole body, what went wrong with this patient, you can understand and you can help the patient much better than just, okay, you have headache, I'll send you to a neurologist. Instead
Right.
of that, I think you
Mhm.
have to understand the patient. That means every cell has consciousness, and every cell in your body, if somebody pulls your hair and you say, hey, don't pull my hair, you always say my. But you don't mind if a doctor tells you that, I have to amputate your leg because you have gangrene, even though you love your body so much but you want to live. You say, yeah, go ahead, doc, and you don't want to even then then the surgeon says, do you want to take it home as a souvenir? Oh no, hell, dump it.
Sure.
So if you look at all these things, you realize that everything you have to look at as a whole. In other words,
Mhm.
if you start looking at a cell or atom or micro quantum physics or whatever it is, as you know, the theory of everything, you probably know about this one, the table, and they built this underground tunnel, the proton tunnel, as you know, in French Alps, and they bombarded, and then they found the final particle of the theory of everything, TOE. And what did they, that's Higgs, boson particle. What did
Right.
they call it? God's particle,
Mhm.
because that is the one connecting all the particles. That is a microcosm. So both, I think we cannot separate one from the other.
So it seems that with limited understanding at this point, modern science may not be able to prove the existence of God, but where we are heading, do you believe that in coming decades, centuries, this might become possible? Or
You will
what do
never
you
you
think on this?
I think even from, like, let us say centuries from now, nobody can prove God. Nobody can prove, because even you are believing that there is collision of the protons, and you have, okay, we have atom bomb, so
Mhm.
atom has energy and it can destroy and all that. That's why we know we have to believe the scientists. But scientists, if you follow them regarding the creation or existence or whatever, anything, you follow their research. When you ask them why this, why this, why this, even very first cell, they call the primordial soup of life,
Mhm.
very first cell, how did it get life, and why you cannot create life in one cell in your laboratory, right? That's number one. Number two, you to answer your question, if I ask these scientists, can you find the dead end of the universe, the edge of the universe? Nobody can.
Yeah.
Even if you, the other thing is, you cannot, even if you say, well, maybe in a century or so we will go to the sun and all that, but it's not going to be habitable, or maybe with all these fire resistant, heat resistant. Even then, very limited. Whatever we think we thought we progressed, it's only material comfort we did.
So
And
let
the
me.
other question is that, excuse, I mean, the other question is that you and I, we both are in modern medicine, and you take care of from the baby, from neonatologist, right?
Mhm,
And I take care of them up to the either cremation or burial ground.
mhm.
In between, so we both take care of the life.
Yeah.
But the question is, why people lived more than 100 years as a norm across the globe
Mhm,
at one time, like not too long ago, and why we have more diseases now, and more doctors, and more problems, and more if
we
we are
don't
that.
know.
No, but that is the reason.
Previously,
Yeah.
previously there were no meaningful ways to diagnose also.
Right, but they didn't die at 20 years, 30 years. A lot of them have longevity.
Yeah,
Even today
but
in
longevity
Japan, if
depends on so many factors: stress, lifestyle, and all that.
correct, but there are people in India and in Japan, elderly people, 108, 109 year old, they
Mhm,
go to, he takes the fishing hook and then small dinghy boat, and he goes, and every day he brings fish, he smokes, he has cigar in his mouth all the time. He doesn't get carcinoma of the cheek or tongue. He doesn't, he has no carcinoma. I mean, he has no lung cancer. But there are more people live that way. Then what we do is we are trying to find, oh, this is DNA, this is this. The more names you give, the more you explain, less we are treating patients, and less we are.
But there are blue zones where the longevity is still good, much higher than what the normal expectancy is.
Uh, well,
And
I cannot say that way, because even if there is, you are prolonging with the drugs.
uh,
I mean, at least I see adult patients.
okay,
Lot of them have hypertension, diabetes, emphysema, and they are on 20, 40
mhm,
medications, 2, 3 pages medications.
sure. Let me
And
ask
the
you
other,
this way. Hmm?
yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I'm cutting you in between. Let me ask you this way. Being a student of modern medical science
Mhm.
and having studied spirituality in depth,
Yeah.
are you sure that God exists or are you skeptical about it? Or
What God actually is a word, came from, it's approbation, means modification of the word, gradual modification
mhm,
from Germany, got,
sure.
got hut to gut,
Mhm,
like that, and became God.
mhm.
But you can call him whatever you want. The question is, can you go anywhere, even if modern science is advanced, without all this research for decades? Then you say we can send man to the moon, but you have all these gears to wear. But on the planet Earth, you don't need any gears, and everybody is living with water, air, and those five elements. So God is not to prove, first of all, number one, existence, because proving some absence of proof doesn't mean anything really, because
It
the
will
other
still,
way is also true.
sure.
What I mean is, if you ask me, for example, hey, do you know if there is a God? My answer is, God is for somebody to realize. It's a personal realization, and there is no reason for that person to prove it to anybody. In other words, you say that I like this, or I want, I am very fond of this. The other guy says I don't like it, and
Mhm.
you say, hey, this is my body, and this is what I like, chicken, and he likes curry.
So you don't believe in Darwin, or do you believe his evolution model?
The Darwin evolution.
Mhm,
There is, I'm not sure if everybody read the whole book on Darwin and his actual
mhm,
analysis and his conclusions.
mhm.
He never said this is it.
He never said what?
He never said this is it, this is the evolution. When
Yeah,
he
this
went to
is
the
right.
South
Sure.
America, if you read
Mhm,
the article and
yeah.
his number two, even when he proposed that he theory, just like Big Bang theory,
Mhm,
right?
mhm,
Today, I mean, just to make understanding to your listeners, Today you have a president of a
No,
country.
but do you believe in Darwin's
No, no,
theory?
that's where I'm coming to.
Yeah.
If suppose if you have a president, he can be president with 30% of the votes,
Hmm?
because the other people can split.
Right.
Darwin and the Big Bang Theory got less than 50% of the votes to believe it. But it depends on who is pushing the agenda. Darwin himself, if you read that, he never said this is it.
Got it.
That's a theory. Okay, let me ask you this way.
Hmm.
Why we are calling it theory? Big Bang Theory, Darwin Theory, right? Why we are calling it still a theory? Why we are not saying this is it? But
So was
as a
it?
modern
Yeah.
doctor, I don't
Mhm.
want to say that I don't believe in evolution, but there is, just like there is a change in you, and you came here for like 3 4 decades ago, and your children don't look like you. They are little bit because of the dieting, I mean diet or whatever is local here, and you don't look like your parents, no, etc etc. This is
Mhm.
called gradual change,
Sure.
modification. Same
Mhm.
thing. My thinking is that there is always a change in the nature, and you don't, your children don't look exactly like you. They may be much taller than you, lighter than you, who knows, all
But
those
much of that,
factors.
but much of that can be explained by Mendelian genetics. Much of
Okay,
that can be explained. There's a reason behind how
genetics
we
is
look
only
what we are. Yeah.
good for, okay, genetics is only, I studied all that. Genetics is only good for the physical similarities between
Sure.
family members,
Mhm.
and it is not, maybe you can say, hey, this maple syrup disease is common in Jewish people, and this is sickle cell is common in Afro American people. You may say those things, but
Mhm.
it's not true across the board either.
Right.
Number one. Number two, when you say, let us say if you take one family and there are 6 members in the family, one guy becomes president of the United States, the other guy becomes a drug addict and jailbird, but they all carry the same genes of the parents, aren't they? And then they have these deviations and what they call random changes and spontaneous changes. So
Mhm.
for a lot of things we rationalize with all these weird names.
Mhm. Right.
I mean, this is my opinion. I mean, what I
Right.
understood science, and I'm not trying to say that religion is it. Like I said before, if I ask you, Dr. Manish, you like your right eye or left eye? Number one. Or if I say, do you like your wife or your mother? Or if you have 2 sons, right?
Mhm.
You have
Yeah.
2 sons. Oh,
Yeah.
which one is your favorite? You may focus on one if he's not doing well or something like that. Doesn't mean that you don't you don't care for or love the other one.
Mhm.
Same way, I don't think the moment you start having dichotomy in the religion is correct or science is correct.
Mhm.
Science is only to give comforts to the life,
Sure.
and religion is comfort to the mind. That is the reason why, as you know, in this country 60 to 80% of the Americans are on antidepressants and
No,
anti-anxiety drugs.
many are religious too. Many are religious too. Let me ask you this way.
Sure.
Let me ask you this way. If God is there,
Hmm.
I'm trying to understand from
Sure.
you because, as I said, you are uniquely positioned to delve upon two things: spirituality as well as modern science. Having studied, the in-depth molecular biology, why God continues to be an enigma? Why, if God is there, why it or he continues to be an enigma? Why does not? Why he just doesn't open up and tell, oh, hey, this is how things work. Second point, why there is no evolution after human being has been in existence since millennium, since centuries and centuries. Of course, human homo sapiens species are also changing.
Oh
Homo
yeah,
sapiens is not the original human being.
Neanderthals and all that stuff. Yeah,
Yeah, I
Homo
understand,
erectus and all those. Yeah.
but why in centuries, over the centuries, why this human has not, another species hasn't evolved out of that? Of
So
course,
actually, you
human species
answered
is
this.
evolving, but there's nothing coming out of that. Why it has stopped there? How do you look
You
at this?
you actually you answered the first question in the second question. Am I
Yes,
right? Yes
yes,
or no? You
I
answered
think so.
yourself
Yeah.
first question in the second question, because
Mhm.
let me tell you.
Yeah, I want to understand from you.
No, that's why.
Yeah.
No, but actually, I want to give you the credit that you already answered it. That's what I'm saying. But this is it. Even if you look at the evolution, you are talking about millions of years, correct? The retina improved because, in dark and underwater, blah, 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 all those rods and cones and all that. This is the theory we have, okay?
Mhm.
Adaptation, right? Natural selection, adaptation. These are the theories of basically boils down to these are the two when you
Yes.
talk about evolution, right? Necessity is the mother of invention, correct?
Mhm. Yes.
Correct. Today, 24 hours is not enough for a man, I mean, human.
Mhm.
Why? Because he has so many things to do. He's always busy. The more inventions you are coming up with, for example, the iPhone, iPad. My 5-year-old grandson, he always, I know, he knows more. Remember, I told you yesterday, I think Friday, I'm not tech savvy. I told you that. I don't
No,
use
he
much
might be
of
more
it.
busy than you actually with modern technological gadgets. They
I
are
know
more busy than us.
I refuse to use them. Once I am semi-retired, I said that there is no reason for me to go myself crazy with all these
Mhm.
targets. I mean, the
Yeah.
tools. That's my philosophy.
Mhm.
But to answer your question, why doesn't God show up? But
Yeah.
if you read any scripture in any religion, I'm not quoting only Hinduism, please,
Mhm.
because, like I said, it's a personal, realization. God is basically a personal realization. So why he doesn't show up to everybody? So my, question to you is, to become a doctor, neonatologist, you really, really spend a lot of your time sitting and reading, studying. When your friends are goofing around and going to movies, second show, third show, whatever, and
Mhm.
playing cricket and all that, you say, hey, wait a minute, I have
Mhm.
these coming, and you want to finish your exams,
Mhm.
correct?
Yes. I
There,
played I
there,
played cricket also, but yes, you're right.
there you go. So you have you basically showed your effort.
Mhm.
On the other hand, if you go to bars and you are very busy man and you have a podcast, you want to help the people to understand medicine.
Yes.
If you go to a bar every day and get drunk and say, I want to go to I know, I want to be a NASA scientist, can you be? No. Or there is coronavirus, COVID, right? Coronavirus, you did you see under microscope or electron microscope? You didn't. I didn't. But we know that people get sick, but we know that there was SARS-1 before. Since I
Mhm.
was a medical student, there is SARS-1. I used to wear all these gears for SARS-1 in the ICU patients and all that. And 40 to 50,000 patients per year die in the hospitals with pneumonia, community acquired, correct? But
Yes.
let's not go there. But just to make a point, you are believing the scientists. Yeah, you see these people dying, but they could be dying for because of other reasons too. If you put enough effort using electron microscope, or you have the knowledge of a virus and cultures and whatnot and all that, you can able to at least see it or understand it. But you spend all your life to be a virologist, correct? If you say, hey, God, show me, and I want to see the God. But there are Sufis and Christians and Jewish people, and in Hindi, in Hinduism, there are a lot of not just ordinary guys, people with high education. They became like deeply immersed in the devotion, and they realized God. Remember, I
No,
told you
I
God is.
understand. I understand. Sorry. I understand. To realize God, you have to be a seeker to be able to realize God. But I'm asking the reverse way. Why God has made things so complicated?
He
Why
did
a
not.
common man like me?
He did not.
I'm just trying to extract the
Correct.
information
You know
from you. I'm
what
not trying
though?
to take sides. I'm
Everybody
not trying to,
blames.
to
Yeah.
sound like an atheist, but the point is why God has made it so difficult. Why a common person like me is not able to relish God and see Him.
Again, you are busy with medicine. You are busy with your lifestyle. You are busy with other things.
Mhm.
But then my question to you is, when you applied for medicine, why they are taking only top rank people? entrance into the medical school.
Yeah.
Now, even if you let us say 75 is the cutoff, one guy had 74.5, he's not getting admitted to the
But
medicine.
still there are many people who are achieving those scores. To achieve God, to
Correct.
realize or to see
But
God,
there are
it's very
people,
minuscule. It's
but
very,
they,
like,
yeah,
rarely people see it. 99.999% people don't even see that. Why it is so complicated?
there is no, actually, in our, at least, if you are going to kind of focusing on one religion, I don't want to be like that. I want to be
No,
general. But I
totally.
will tell you this thing. In our religion, God has no, he is formless, he is characterless, anything. Only he will appear to you, or you will perceive him according to your way of worshipping him.
But
You understand?
also we have seen when we become too deeply entrenched with these kind of metaphysical things,
Devotion.
then people say, "Oh, this guy has gone paranoid or schizophrenic, schizophrenic or like something like that." People then modern science is doubtful about that. It might say this guy has lost his mind.
To answer
How do
that
you look at it?
question, first of all, number one, humans are biased, and they're also
Humans are
selfish
sorry.
and
Humans are what?
biased. They are biased. In
Yeah.
other words,
Mhm.
you, let us say you are a scientist, you have to feed your family, for heaven's sake. At the same time, 30% or 40% of the scientists go to church also. He's the same guy who said, God did not create rock and all that. Because I'm talking about people I studied and I watched and all that stuff. Those people go to church. I'm not criticizing them. The point is, what they say outside means to survive, to feed his family, to get a paycheck from NASA, I mean NASA or whatever it is. This guy has to do this kind of research only. But if you take him outside the building or whatever it is, please don't tell any. Do you believe in God? Yeah, please don't tell anyone that I believe God. Actually, you can do the statistics and pull it up on Google. See how many scientists actually go to church. That's number one. Number two, to again answer your question, if you, let us say a neon, I mean, because you are neonatologist, let's say in pediatric ward you have a baby, and ask the baby what is E is equal to mc square. Does baby know that?
No.
Doesn't.
No.
Then you say, hey, wait a minute, you have a brain, I have a brain, how come you don't know it, I know it? Because you studied and you understood and all that stuff. So 99.99% of the people, they are busy with their lives, and they are, like today's society is me, myself, I, and mine, and what is in it for me. How many really you see people, I mean, going to church, going to temples doesn't mean a thing. It is just a way of escape. It's called escapism.
Sure.
Actually, do you sit and study and meditate upon? I will tell you one best example for you. Plug your ears with your own index digits. Either
Mhm.
go, I mean, I don't want you to drown, but go under deep water sea, or go to the sky, right? Or deep forest where there is no disturbance for you, and see what is your perception of the nature, and what the things you come to realize,
Mhm.
versus sitting in a busy place. And because your senses are bombarded the moment you got up, your senses are five senses are bombarded with millions and millions of impulse, stimulations.
Mhm.
This, just to make my point, why everybody cannot perceive God or realize God is because they don't put enough effort.
Got it.
So
Yeah.
you asked me, you are in a unique position, because since childhood I have both. I studied science and I studied every book in the under the. In other words, I studied all the 32 religions in the world,
Very
including
good.
Christianity and Islam, and I have Quran in the back, three
Which one
Qurans
is the best? Which one is the best?
from Pakistan.
Yeah. Which one is the best? Which one is the best religion?
Oh, no, 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 no. See, that is again you are going. No, actually, that
I'm just
is the.
trying to understand from your
No,
perspective. Yeah.
no, let me tell you, any person who realizes that he cannot create a single cell without using the five natural elements of the universe: the
Mhm.
space, the air, the earth, the water, and the fire. Tell me, can you even test tube baby? Whatever you say, you are still using, and you did not bring 1 ounce of oxygen to.
Mhm.
Correct. So who gave you all those for free? Oh, you can say that it took millions, and sun was very hot, and
Yeah,
earth became perfectly round. This is all, you know, they say this. Right
yeah,
is right even if no one else is doing it. Wrong is wrong even everyone is doing it. What I mean is, why did they say that? Why that kind of saying came into, our lives? Because not everybody realizes the absolute truth.
right. No, I understand. So you mentioned Quran, and you have a devout Hindu and spiritual person. There's so much these days. I mean, so much is spoken about,
Terrorism.
there's huge violence and all this
Right, right.
derived from this scripture.
Yeah,
What is your brief comment upon this? Because you have read it. Many people have not read, but they this just keep talking what they have heard from others. What is your comment on Quran in terms of violence and so much of
yeah, yeah. Terrorism and
power
all that. Yeah,
struggle and
yeah,
political struggle, power struggle, and then human rights violation, like Taliban, for example. Taliban says that they are adhering to what the scripture says, and they are here to implement Sharia. But you have studied Quran.
yeah.
What is your comment upon that?
Religion is man-made. Number one, that's the very first thing you have to understand. Religion is a man-made.
But
Some guy,
but,
no, no,
but
no, no. Why I'm
a devout
saying,
Muslim
when
will
it
not
comes to,
agree with this. He says,
when it comes to Quran
"Mm,
or Bhagavad Gita or Bible or Torah, whatever you take, basically, if you read a book or a scripture, there are 32 angles you can look at one book, spiritually and philosophically, understand? So personally, socially, politically, any book you take, depending on your level of sophistication, not even education, because some people are, dogmatic.
no,
You
but the
know,
point is that I believe in Bhagavad Gita, but I don't have blasphemy law. And
no,
I
no,
don't
no,
believe
but
that,
see,
okay,
the
you
thing is
criticize
this.
Bhagavad Gita, I'm going to kill you. But
Right.
why it is about Quran then?
That is basically, there is one thing with the Quran is that they do not, see, the one thing about Bhagavad Gita or Vedas or anything, actually Upanishads, if you look at it, Upanishads are basically students, disciples asking the Guru. That's how all these Upanishads, 108 Upanishads came,
Mhm.
right? Because you questioned, and it became for the Guru, and that
Exactly.
became Upanishad.
Yeah.
When you say, I am the last prophet, what about all the other ones? What happened to them? Are they good or bad? And when you changed whatever is existing already in that Saudi Arabia or peninsula, and you say this, it should be this way, it is one man's thought. Number two, even if Quran, if let us say I'm practicing Islam, Muslim, because who practices Islam is a Muslim. If I practice, always take the good of that. What did it teach you? Take the good of anything. But like I said in the beginning itself in our conversation, there are two things that are really ruining the humanity. One is that super selfishness. Number two is
So, yeah.
greed, endless
Yeah.
greed.
But
If
have you,
so
yes,
what happened? They take here bits and pieces of the Quran, right? And they follow only. For example, in our own Hinduism, you have Saivites, Vaishnavites, Shaktites, all those things. And they used to, each other. That's how Shankaracharya came and did all those 74, debates, right? But they don't have that kind of what we call renaissance. We have six times our Hinduism. In other words, if you look at the earth itself, it recycles all the time. That's what the earthquakes and the hurricanes and all those things, right? Same thing every religion should do. I mean, they should have revision, means these are for that period.
but
They
they
are
say
not
that
good.
this is the final word. Quran is the final word. And
See
let
that.
me let me get this from you. Having read Quran, do you think it preaches violence?
What is there are certain words in Quran like dhimis, you know means whoever doesn't believe Allah, they deserve to be punished.
Okay.
That is there in all the three versions I read. That is there.
Okay.
They have the word jihad.
Mhm.
They do.
Yeah.
But the point is, you are a educated person, you don't have to be spiritual, but you say, hey, I was born into Hinduism, I want to follow Hinduism. But you say, wait a minute, I think this doesn't make sense. That But in Hinduism, whatever, like today Ramanavami, right, anything, they all have scientific basis and health basis. Like fasting for half a day or one day, it is good for you. Rest for the gut, GI, right? Anything you say, wash your feet, wash your hands, don't enter the house with sandals or shoes. All these things, even though they look like some kind of oh, these are all old fashioned, this and that. No, they all have scientific basis. Even a lady to stay away 3 days when she has cycle every month, it's all, they're talking about hygiene and health and all that.
Mhm.
But they did not, like for example, like I said before, we have six renaissance, anywhere from God, Bhagavad Vedas, from Vedas to there was too much of killing animals in the name of yajnas and all that, yagas and all that. There is Upanishads, there is Bhagavad Gita, there is Buddhism, there is Sankaracharya, Arabind, Dayananda Saraswati, Vivekananda, Ramakrishna Paramahansa, Ramana Maharshi. See, you have so many renaissance, like they are saying, hey, wait a minute, understand the, so they don't have gurus, they have imams, but they don't have gurus. Spiritual guru is the one who puts you on the right track and say, I think you are too much nonsense, you are nutcake. No, no, this is the real meaning of this. That's what you need.
Correct.
You can follow any religion because God has no name, no form. As long as you don't need all that, just meditation, om or something, like I told you before. Put your ears and close your eyes, and then but actually, yesterday I did internal medicine. I do internal medicine and neurology alert, just to keep my CME. And I
Yes.
used, because before I used to teach a lot, so that's why I used to keep up with medicine and all that, internal medicine. Yesterday I did one question about vasovagal syncope.
Mhm.
The answers was applying pressures, right?
Yeah.
Increase salt and water. They have yoga and something else. I did not answer yoga because I thought that would be like my bias. So
Yes.
I put salt and water wrong, and then I did the apply pressures wrong. Guess what? Multi-center study in different countries, they came to the conclusion that yoga is the best treatment for vasovagal syncope.
Wow. Can't believe that.
I mean, this was
Yeah.
yesterday. I did the
Yes.
question yesterday.
Yeah.
Why I'm saying that to you? Because it depends on how you want to understand the world and understand yourself. Lot
Yes.
of people are trying to, like I told you, the bottom line is always extreme selfishness, extreme greed. If you cut down that a little bit and say what, that's why there is an old saying, I'm sure I can Sanskrit, I can translate to English, is that if you open your eyes, you see the nature with all these five elements and three gunas, tattva, raja, and tama.
Mhm.
And close your eyes, you see the Bhagavan, like he's a, like 10 to the, I mean, the 1/100th of a rice grain tip, as a small tiny spark. That's what, we it's interesting to talk a little bit about the neurology brain, because consciousness is such a big topic. What is his name, Deepak Chopra made fortune of this Indian
Yes.
philosophy, but he doesn't mention India, but or
Yeah.
anything, he thinks it's his own, but it's not.
Unfortunate. Yeah.
See, this is what, okay, I stumbled on it, that he is the best example of what is going on now. Why you don't see God?
Mm. So, Dr. Possibility, I think we have limitation of time today, but I am, and there's so many other subtopics which I need to discuss with you,
Sure,
particularly your, writing a stotram in terms of motherland India and all that. So we'll take up this issue another time. And of
sure.
course, here also, whatever discussion we had, there are so many other angles to this.
Oh
I
yeah,
look forward to talking to you again, and we will
sure.
continue these discussions. But yes, thank you very much for your time.
No, thank you
And
for inviting me. It's very
absolutely,
interesting.
yeah, you're
It's
most
very
welcome.
interesting. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and happy
Take
Ram Navami.
Same to you too, and to your family.
Mhm.
Take care.
Bye.
Let's see here.